A few lines which I yesterday in Delhi University had written, but I could not express all these things because of time constraints. I've written about the book Experiencing Anthropology, on which I have to speak there. My book is a mix of modernist and postmodernist writing. How? Modernist writing in anthropology seeks universal truth and authority. Universal truth and authority. That means Malinowski has written his authority on Trobriand. Whatever he says becomes prophecy. While postmodernistic writing critiques it, emphasizes subjectivity, reflexivity, and the impossibility of a single objective view of culture. You study, you view the culture in your own way. I view the same culture in my own way. Because data collection in anthropology is a subjective matter. There cannot be objective interpretation of it. This is the first premise of postmodern. Data collection in anthropology is a subjective matter. There cannot be objective interpretation of that data. In detail, let me try to explain. In this book, you will find the name of Oscar Wilde. Oscar Wilde was an English scholar. The outline of history he has also written. But then he was a short story writer. At one place, I have quoted him a single line. That is from one of his short stories, Happy Prince. I'll not explain in detail what Happy Prince is. I think some of you must. And the Happy Prince that starts with high above the sky on a tall column stood the statue of Happy Prince. Okay? These were the beginning lines of the story. And the Happy Prince was there. He had never seen any misery. He was happy. At an early age, he died. His admirers erected high and column, and their statue was fixed. And that statue was very much ornamented with gold and every jewel was there. From there, he could see the small town in which it was a European town. Okay? So Happy Prince is one person who is 24 hours looking at every phenomena that is taking place in that small town. I, an anthropologist, I go to Nicobar. 12 islands are there in which Nicobarese live, different and spread in 300 kilometers, something like that. A small island, the island of Chowra, 2.8 square kilometers. I'm interacting at one place with some of my informants. Okay? What is happening in Chowra all around? I don't know. Not like Happy Prince. I don't know. And my time, when it suits me, then I go and meet some people. So whatever data I collect, according to my own convenience, with only some of the information, that is what Malinowski has done. In Trobriand, there's so many islands are there in the Western Pacific. He is in one island. At one place he has camp. He goes and he collects the data with a group of informants, whatever it is. And he wrote voluminous books. And people think that this is the ultimate. This is the most scientific because he had done field work. Field work is very, very important. In anthropology, it is certainly without fieldwork, anthropology is big zero, I also say. So, this is I am telling you, this is subjective. There cannot be objective. You go there, same people you study, you different places, you different informant, different time, but nobody knows. So, differences are there. Best example is also of what do you call, Oscar Lewis and Robert Redfield. The village is Tipo's land, a village where where Robert Redfield studied. After some years, same people, same village, Oscar Lewis, and he also studies. You read his little community of people, a Mexican village, Robert Redfield. He writes, everything is so nice and harmonious life, very cooperative and no competition, only cooperation. This type of conclusion he has drawn from the same village. And you read Oscar Lewis. Culture of poverty. This term is associated with Oscar Lewis, you know, and how poor they are, how competitive they are. Not only competition, but rivalry is there. Hmm. All these things, negative things, you will find. Now they had both had a different lens. Their subjective, that is reflected in their subjectivity, is reflected in their works. And I don't go into detail about Linton also in his cultural background of personality. In 1956, he writes about ideal culture, real culture, and culture construct. These are very important things in anthropology you have to understand. If you want to do anthropology, then if you want to simply pass out the IAS examination, I don't. But then I will speak anything, one who does anthropology for him. See, ideal culture. Ideally, in every society, should be ideal things. In reality, there is difference. In reality. So, Linton says, every anthropologist constructs a culture. In my book, I have constructed Nicobarese culture. Other people have also written about Nicobar. They have constructed Nicobarese culture in their own way. So, ideal thing is something, real thing is something, and culture construct is something. Such things are others also have explained in different terminologies like organic solidarity, mechanical solidarity, and all these things. Let us not go into details of all these things. One author is Scott Lucas, American anthropologist. He writes, postmodernism is a controversial philosophical, aesthetic, and cultural formation that has influenced culture, literature, art, and social sciences, including anthropology. Postmodernism brought radical changes during the 1980s in the field of technology, economics, politics, architecture, popular culture. Is hippie culture, or they are known as popular culture or counter culture, beat culture. This is counter culture or popular culture, it is called. Popular culture. That resulted in a paradigm shift in society, the form of movement against a preponderance of modernism. They were all against the modernism. Some call it industrialism, or some call it industrialism. Now, a very good line is there. Postmodernism is outrightly rejected in natural science. In natural science, postmodernism is outrightly rejected, hotly debated in social science, and favorably accepted within humanities, that is literature, history, art, philosophy, etc. I have already said any social thought is the product of its existing social and cultural backdrop. Seeds of postmodernism were in the late 1950s, received momentum in 60s and early 70s, and reached its zenith in 1980s. Soon after the Second World War, a number of social and cultural movements started in US and West European countries, such as, I told you, civil rights movement in America, extensive military intervention by US government in Vietnam, and its backlash in America in 1970s reflected in gay and lesbian culture, addiction of psychoactive drugs reflected in hippie culture in America and UK, rock and beat culture in France, bohemian culture, and so on. Followers of these countercultures or popular cultures were all non-conformists. They denounced authority and lived their own way of life. I'm skipping Jacques Derrida and Michael Foucault, etc. And the epistemological question, which I have time and again said, I come to it. First, is it possible to maintain scientific detachment, neutrality, and objectivity by any anthropologist in India in data collection and its interpretation? That means, as an anthropologist, as a natural scientist, can we, maintain scientific detachment? Scientific detachment means, as a scientist in the laboratory, detached you are with the result of the experiment. Detachment. That is called scientific detachment. Neutrality. You are not intervening the phenomena. You are not promoting the phenomena. You are not doing any, observation ka kya hai? Observation is the examination of phenomena without altering them. You are not making any alteration. You have just put the things and watching the results. So that detachment, that neutrality and objectivity by any anthropology in social culture in data collection can be done? I suppose no. Because data collection, I have already said, is a subjective matter, therefore there cannot be any objective interpretation. See, second, should an anthropologist, second epistemological question that has arisen out of this postmodernism. Second, should an anthropologist claim to be authentic? Because the readers of the book claim that yes, this is authentic. Because Malinowski did 5 years, you know. About me also I can be said that 13 months in Nicobar, living with the natives, their huts, whatever they are giving, eating, that's a different thing, how I have done my field work. But then, should I claim? I will not claim that this is authentic. But people who read my book, they will claim, yes, he has done so and so things, so this must be right. Okay. So I don't care. No. Malinowski's example is very much. Because how the things, Malinowski, if you read Kula and you see such and such things, among the Trobriand Islanders, and do you think 100 years back he did it? Are they still doing the same thing? The question, no. I have given example in my book that only after 27 years in Nicobar, although I have been to Andaman for 10 times, but particularly in Nicobar, I went there to see the changes in the Nicobar Islands that were taken after 2002, I remember. 2002, I went there. And when I saw the changes, I've written language there, sentences. I was as surprised as Rip Van Winkle. I'm sure you might not have been knowing what is Rip Van Winkle. Anybody know? Rip Van Winkle is an American short story, again like Happy Prince. American short story written by Irving Washington, the name of the author is. And he wrote it in 1819, more than 100, 200 years now. Okay? Back. Rip Van Winkle is a cattle grazer. And he goes to the, every day with his cattle, goes to the forest and hills and all. One day he sees a cave. He enters into it. And when he enters, he is in a different world. After 20 years, he comes out. After 20 years, it comes out. All the changes in American society and culture, American Revolution had already completed. Everything was him. So he says, in one day, how this change took place. He was surprised. He thought that it was only one day that he has spent inside the cave, but it had passed 20 years. He says, fiction. It's a story. Well, 20 years. I went there 27 years. After 27 years, I was very much surprised, and I began to think that I don't know anything about the Nicobaris. How, if I write what I've seen in 1974, 75, will anybody believe? A lot of confusion had arisen in me. This title also emerged in the same trip, Experiencing Anthropology in the Nicobar Islands. How I've written in my book, how it came up. You know, because once again I started meeting the people there, and then I started realizing one single line from my book I'm quoting. The more and more an anthropologist knows about a people, the more and more an anthropologist knows about a community or people, the less and less he thinks that he knows about them. I started realizing. I was also thinking that I am a champion in Nicobar. I know about all the islands I have visited and such field work I have done. This confusion of mine was absolutely gone there. And I thought, no, I don't know anything. Because the more and more you start knowing the people, you will think as a working anthropologist, doing anthropologist, you will feel that I know less and less about it. Hmm. That's a very nice experience. I was so much surprised by as reforming us. And another epistemological question that the postmodernism has forced to raise among the anthropologists, that is, should an anthropologist include his personal experience or account in the account of other cultures? Because modernists say no, you are passive spectator. You cannot enter into the phenomena. Just observe the phenomena and write. This is what the modernists say. Okay? Hmm. And he says, yeah, postmodernist, this question is raised. He should an anthropologist include his personal account in the account and of other culture? My response, my personal, yes, he must include now. Gone are the days of modernism, that you are trying to achieve some law, that is not possible. This time has proved that in since mid-19th century, evolutionism, they tried to discover some laws. Then Brown and Malinowski, they also tried to discover something laws. It has proved that it is a futile attempt. Why? I have explained it earlier. Subject, data collection is subjective. How can you interpret it? I mean, objective interpretation. No. But he must include now in anthropology. When I write, yes, I do it. Why? Uh, what is the middle part in between that? How I also don't agree that anthropology is not a science, postmodernism, but then there is a middle path also. There is a middle path also. If you have to include your account in the account of other cultures, there is a very beautiful, just change the sentence. Transformation of sentence will protect you from every blame. Just change the transformation sentence. I say two sentences. The meaning is the same. But when you interpret the meaning, then you find the difference between modernist and postmodern. I say Nicobaris do such and such things in my book, Experiencing Anthropology. Nicobaris do such and such things. That is one statement, okay? And the same thing I say, I saw the Nicobaris doing such and such things. It has changed. The meaning has not changed, but now interpreting. When I say I saw the Nicobaris doing such and such things, I included myself there. Okay? Now, I'm saying I'm not responsible now whether in earlier times they did or not. I'm not responsible in future they will change or not, they are doing or not. I'm not. Author is not responsible. Absolutely not responsible for this. Uh, it is only at that particular point of time when I was doing work, time and place, then I saw the Nicobar is doing such and such. If I said Nicobar is doing such and such thing, that will become a prophecy in my book. So there is a part that, in spite of the fact that you don't agree with postmodernism, but just change the nature of sentence. What is called transformation of sentence, grammar में कहते हैं ना, तो without changing the meaning. That is. So that is, you know. And last, a question, which was, in fact, because of Frank Boas, his cocktail study, whether reconstruction of culture is justified in anthropology. Reconstruction means why it came. When after 27 years, I went there, and I'll take more than hours and hours together how I lived in Chowra for 3 months, 3.5 months. Chowra, one doesn't understand Chowra, then you would not understand the whole Nicobar. So many things are there. Because the land itself is supposed to be the land of wizards, Jadugar. Every Chowarian is supposed to be a wizard. It is believed that a Chowarian can change the direction of the wind and the wave in the sea. Which is not true, I know. But there is a belief of the people there. Because they are so good navigators. And that is also because of the ecological reasons. In a small island, the food stuff is not produced even for 1 month of the population of the Chowra. They have to go to different islands, Kamauta, Trinket, Nankauri, Karnikobar, Bompoka, Teresa, work in their gardens, and then from there they bring it here. And this is how they seek their livelihood. Their wives and children in Chowra eat, So naturally, even if the rough weather is there, they dare to go there. Their canoe is also very sharp, accordingly, for ages they have made it. Now, this is the reason that not that they are wizards, no, not at all. They prepare chowra pots, by hand, not wheel pottery, by hand. They made chowra pots. That pot is supposed to be the harbinger of fortune, number one. If you cook your meals in it, then. And second, most important is, it has a magical effect. If chowra pot, if water is boiled in chowra pot and the child is bathed, then the child will be immunized against black magic. Completely immunized against black magic. Now, for this reason, every Chowra, every Nicobar Island, all the 12 islanders, every family must have chowra pots. So this is significance there. After 27th year, I go there. No woman is making chowra pot at all. Because of technological change. I went there, I landed in Chowra. This book is dedicated to Captain Beals, who 2 o'clock in the night dared to take me by his small cargo ship, Chowra. And there at 2 o'clock in the night, I came to Chowra. Despite knowing, because when I, in Port Blair, in Kolkata, my friends were there in the Anthropological Survey of India. When I said to them that I want to go to Chowra, the question that also I have written. Dilip Chakravarti was there, Badal Basu was there. He said, "You want to die or you want to commit suicide?" And they told me horror about Chowra. Because in those days, Chowra was supposed to be one of the most inaccessible and inhospitable islands. The belief was among the Chowrians that even a particle of sand would bring death and disease in Chowra because the spirit will become. And in that island, I have landed at 2 o'clock in the night and lived there for 3.5 months. The day I was leaving the island, almost the entire population of the island, except the sick and the children, they came to the seashore. I left by canoe only, they are primitive type, came to Teresa because ships were not going in Chowra. Um, I was overwhelmed to see. I was reminded also, I've written also that also. There is a book, R.S. Allen, Ethnography, Volume 2. He writes that the success of an anthropologist doesn't depend upon the amount of data that he brings from the field, but it more depends upon the amount of help and cooperation that he receives from the informants, because informants are their security. They are upon which his entire work is based, you know. So that depends how good rapport you have with them, that you are empathizing with them, and all these things are there. Anyway, so sometimes I deviate from the main discussion. Uh, this is what, yes, um, I mean, uh, I was talking about modernism, postmodernism, and फ्लिप कर जाता है, हम डिव्यूट कर जाते हैं दूसरी ओर कभी कभी बात करने में, है ना? हम्म, हम्म, जोर से बोलो भाई. हाँ, हाँ, oh yes, yes, I'm on reconstruction. So reconstruction I was talking about. So the I mean, if I write the same thing, and I've written in the book later I wrote in the book, because my thesis was nature, man, spirit, Vidyarthi's constant. He was my teacher also. He was my guide also. I have done my PhD under him only. So my thesis was completely modernistic. I'm nowhere in my thesis because I didn't know about postmodernism. That has not emerged. I have not read. So a lot of things are there. Remembered Village also influenced me, of M.N. Srinivas. You know, M.N. Srinivas, you all know, Sanskritization, dominant caste and all. So M.N. Srinivas, if I had read, I've written in my book that if I had read M.N. Srinivas earlier, then probably my thesis would have taken a different shape. Because in that book, I've seen that how he has written his interaction with the informant. So I have never written in my book, in my thesis. No, only Nigovaris do such and such type of statements are there. You know. But in this book, I've changed absolutely. So reconstruction, yeah, I talk of French Boas. No, what French Boas has done, for which he has been severely criticized by every anthropologist. Potlatch, you must be knowing. Random destruction of property, I mean the cooperative, and several other American Indian people. That is to commemorate their dead, commemorate their death. And for Potlatch, random destruction of property is done. See the book Parvin Harris, Nature, Culture and something, Man, Nature, Culture. And you find the photograph also how everything is being burned down. You know, so that's a difference in Potlatch. American government had stopped it, this random destruction of property. So gradually it faded away. People are no more celebrating potlatch, but it was in the annals of anthropological literature. So this is how the potlatch was done earlier. Those who had witnessed, they had written. That was very much there. Quakutel. Frank Boas has worked whole life among the Quakutel, you know. And he had the best of the rapport, no doubt about it. But what he did, which is not appreciated in anthropology at all, that is that he requested some of the chiefs, Quakutel chiefs, to organize a potluck. And for that, he gave them money also, number one. And then, on top of that, in potluck, the chief who used to organize potluck, he used to deliver a lecture, you know, that look, I'm so and so, and boasting. That lecture was full of boasting. He wrote the lecture also for the chief to, and then recorded it in camera and in video and audio, whatever it is. And later, when people saw this, then when was, it came to the notice of all them that this was a reconstruction of Potlatch. Uh, then the criticism is there. So that type of thing I don't want to do. But the postmodernism gives you a different way through which you can involve yourself, and then so uh, characteristics of modernism is first of all to discover human laws. You can write down to discover human laws and truth through inductive method. Then second is authority, that is assumes a position of an objective authority. That means you become authentic and authority. You are supposed to be. Uh, Methodology is, I told you, inductive methodology. Uh, but these things are. Now, I think I was asked uh, to speak on modernism and postmodernism. I think I have been able to tell you, I'm trying to conclude, what are the characteristics of modernism, what are the characteristics of postmodernism. The postmodernism said that anthropology cannot be a science because the modernist anthropologists always try to discover laws, and that too through inductive methods, which they could not, they failed so far. And that was the reason that postmodernists absolutely denied and said anthropology cannot be a science. But in my opinion, from my own experiences and my research, I think there can be a middle path also. And that middle path, I have told you that uh, don't just be detached and passive, you know, uh, you have to be um, yourself include also, and how they can. Like on lastly, I find interesting thing, mm, and that is modernist writing completely objective? An anthropologist, if he claims, he's modernist, he's a scientist, and he objectively looks at the phenomena, observes the phenomena, and having remained completely detached, he has written. So, is it true? Is it possible that in modernistic writing, complete objectivity is possible? This I have raised this question. I said, no, it cannot be. Why? Because when you interact with your informant anywhere in the field, both of the informant and the investigator, both make both make impact on each other. Your informant about his society and culture will not will reveal only the good things in the society, not the evil things or bad things which he considers. He will never reveal it. A number of anthropologists there are a number of what you call natives who have become anthropologists. They have written books on their own, and you read this in anthropology itself. Ansis Justin, who was anthropologist for India, he has written a book on the Nicobaris. He himself was in Nicobaris. He was my student also in that university. And I find that he has not disclosed many of the things which, as an anthropologist and as an educated person, he might be thinking that we must not give the best of the Nicobaris, not anything worse. And influence of informant or your subject upon the investigator, that also has it. During the last more than 50 years of my life, I don't suppose that any day is such where I have not been to Nicobar. That was in my mind. One pretext or another, I see something or that impact is there. In that impact is there. Different situations comes to me. And then I think that you are in this circumstance, such circumstance, there also what I did. So this is how I say every day I visit Nicobar. Although I have gone 3, 4 times only to Nicobar, 10 times to Andaman, of course. But then I must not hesitate to say that I visit Nicobar Islands or Andaman Islands every day. How? So this is the impact of your good, fieldwork, intensive fieldwork. This is the impact, lifelong impact. Maybe that the people forget there. Maybe that the people after 1 year or 2 years forget that who Sahay was there. No matter. But on my work has made me such an impact. Of course, there are exceptional anthropologists also, like Raymond Firth on Maori tribe, Anticopia, his books are there. And when he died, Raymond Firth has died recently. Recently, a few years back, after on his 100th, 3 or 4 days were left. He was to celebrate his 100th birthday. Before that, he died. One of the Maori chiefs was educated. He was in anthropology. He has written a poem, which is also there in my book, So it is not here, but anyway, a long poem he has written. That poem you read, and that will suggest that how the impact of the informant, Raymond Firth, was on the Maoris, and how the Maoris also remembered him. That is there. It so happens, but rare, very rare. So maybe my informants 55 years back, 74, 75 were there. Most of them have died. Most of them. Hardly some of them might be alive. Those were them. So they may forget, but anthropologists won't forget this thing. This is one thing I say. It is not completely. And then postmodernism writing is not only subjective, objective. No, this much I would like to explain. I think within a short time, within a short notice, I've tried my level best to tell you modernism and postmodernism, particularly in anthropology, and what is the way out. With these words, if I can stop, allow me. And if any question comes in your mind, you can ask me. I'll try to respond. Thank you.
Mesmerizing. Like, so you can quote this book, Experiencing Anthropology, with respect to postmodernism, with respect to nature man spirit complex, with respect to uh, culture change over a period of time.
Yes.
ठीक है ना?
Mhm.
मेरे को तो postmodernism इतना समझ में आता है that every construct is there, their job is to deconstruct. रिकंस्ट्रक्ट नहीं करना था उनको और वहीं में फेल हो जाता।
यहाँ है, मैंने डेरिडा का नाम लिखा है, देखिएगा, वो कहता है ना कि डिकंस्ट्रक्शन। वो
ठीक है, तुम भी गलत हो, तुम भी गलत हो, आप भी गलत है, मैं भी गलत हूँ। सही क्या है वो नहीं पता।
हम एक एनेक्डोट के साथ में अभी जो डॉक्टर साहब कह रहे हैं, सही कहा अपने तरीके से, बहुत अच्छा कह रहे हैं। NS रेड्डी, यू नो, नेल्लूरी सुब्बा रेड्डी, he is no more today. I met him at his residence in Hyderabad, and it was P. Venkata Rao who took me there because I wanted to meet him. So He took me there. I met him. I have the photograph also with him. N. Subbareddy. Well, in Utkal University, sometime in 2012, there was an international seminar. I was also participating there. N.S. Reddy was also invited. And whatever the theme of the seminar was, exactly I can't recall, but it was also concerned with and postmodernism. It was written in the theme. N.S. Reddy uh, was an old man. He started very lean and thin, straight about postmodernism. What he said is unique, and you laugh at it. He said postmodernism. Yes, I in his um, words, I may not be able to repeat, but the same thing I'm seeing in my own. What he said was, you go to America as an anthropologist and deliver a lecture that now the time that man has to walk by head and think by feet. Now is the time. No wonder you will get a post of anthro to teach postmodernism. So his concept was कि पोस्ट मॉडर्निज्म को इतना गाली बकते थे कि समय आ गया है कि अब मनुष्य को माथे से चलना चाहिए अब पैर से सोचना चाहिए दिस टाइप ऑफ थिंग ऑल्सो अबाउट एंटी पोस्ट मॉडर्निज्म के बारे में कहा गया है यही सब हमको फोर्स किया कि हम सोचे भाई व्हाट इज द मिडिल पाथ
ऑनलाइन बच्चों का एनी क्वेरी एनी क्वेश्चन
या
एनी
या